Let's tie a reverse parachute emerger. You start with a Tiemco TMC 206BL. This is size 16. I'm using 17-aught uni thread. I like this thread because when you wet it with super glue or anything else, it basically disappears. It goes translucent. No buildup, and it splits real well for creating brushes. Bring it up into the top of the hook or the bend of the hook and bake it to the back. I'm building a little bit of a bump there because I'm going to take some Coq de Leon fibers and create a shuck or tail. And I'll use that bump to push the fibers away from the eye of the hook. So I get a little bundle. Tie it in underneath the hook. And lash down those excess fibers clear up to the just before the bend. Trim it off. Now, this is some strip peacock quill, and I've cut a little taper in it so I don't get as much buildup. I like this stuff because this is the natural color, but on the outside edge it's got black, so it really enhances the segmentation. I'm going to build up the thread a little bit. The eye of the hook, if you haven't noticed, actually sits in the water. And you don't put floatant. You only put floatant on the hackle and not on your tippet. Bring it to the back and tie it off. And begin wrapping the peacock herl quill that's been stripped. I'm a little gentle with the quill because they dry out and they crack rather easily. So I just take my time, wrap it down the shank of the hook with concentric wraps, and then I'll coat it with UV resin. But see how that segmentation comes out? It is gorgeous. And tie it off. And trim the excess. And trim my thread and just touch up a little bit with a marker, just so I don't have something white exposed. Take a little bit of UV resin, it's brushable. Coat that biot or that quill. It's almost a dry brush. There's enough resin on there though to fill in the gaps and to coat it. little spot I missed. Quickly hit it with the light before it droops. Now I'm going to move the position of my hook so I can get better access to the bend where I'm going to put my reverse parachute. I'm just hardening the resin real well right now. But you get that beautiful segmentation. Tie in my thread again. Trim my tag in. I've taken a piece of 6X fluorocarbon tippet, and it's going to become my the post for my wing. What I do is I crimp it, flat spotted it, and that's where I'm going to tie it in at. I get more surface area attached to the eye of the hook, and I get a more stable platform for my hackle because of it. See, I got that little flat section. That's what I'm trying to capture. And create a loop. And this technique comes from my friend Roy Christie from Ireland. And I wrapped 7 times. And I'm lashing it to the hook real well. And that's going to be my post. Now take my gallows tool. Mr. Christie actually just does it with his fingers. He doesn't use a gadget to help him. He can do it without his fingers. And I can too, but not the way he does. So just to make it a little easier on myself, I'll use a gallows tool. I want that loop to be somewhat rigid as I wrap my hackle around it. I'm taking out some of the barbs, and I've exposed part of the stem, and I'm going to tie it in right there at the base of that loop. Take another piece of grizzly hackle and add it to it also. Peel back some of the fibers, expose part of the stem, and tie it in. Whip finish. Now, even with a whip finish, it's possible for you to pull that hackle out. So rack it down pretty good. No big deal if it pulls out though. I'm also taking my feathers and attaching it to my gallows just so it gets out of the way when I go to dub the abdomen or body section. I pulled out my hackle. I was adjusting my gallows, so just go back in and tie it in again. Whip finish. This time I'll go a little easier when I go to move that hackle. Suspended from the gallows. And you can see that I need to trim some of the excess of the stem of the hook as well as the tippet. I'm just going to add hackle to some dubbing to it and wrap it. Tie off my thread. Basically the fly is tied already, except I just need to wrap that hackle around that post. And I'll go 4 to 6 times, 4 to 8 times around, depending on how bushy I want it to be. I think in rougher water you need to add a little bit more hackle, but more times than less, just 4 to 6 wraps will do. And then I'm going to open up that loop and pass those stems through there twice. I've never had issues with the hackle coming loose using this method. Pass through it once. And then again. Now what I do now is I'm going to take that loop off of my gallows, hold down my hackle, and then pull on the tag in. See, I've already taken the loop off of the gallows. I'm just trying to grab the tag in. I've got it wrapped down. I'm going to pull on it, and it's going to compress all of that together. You can see it's coming down. Magically, I got a perfect post with legs. I just have to trim off my tag end of my fluorocarbon as well as the excess hackle. Like I said, never have had issues with it coming apart on me. I think this sets up a profile for a perfect emerger. That's why I like Mr. Kersey's method so much.